Hi, good evening and welcome back to today's daily newspaper analysis with Clat Possible's Roznama. So welcome back. I know you have all been following these sessions. So we of course try to focus on the Indian Express and the Hindu and bring to you the most important stories, the most important editorials so you can stay up to date. Our attempt is to try and focus your attention on those stories which are important. In fact, it's a good idea to pick up the newspaper and keep it with you while watching this video. It's a great way to learn which stories are important and which stories aren't. To practice questions on these editorials and news stories, you can, of course, log in to the Roznama, which is available on our website at clatpossible.com. Now, without further ado, let's begin with the newspaper analysis for the 30th of March. We will begin, as always, with the war started by Israel and the United States against the Republic of Iran. Right? So what you see here, this story says that Iran warns against ground invasion amid talks in Pakistan. Now, as you all know, over the last week or 10 days, there have been some noises made by the United States stating that talks are ongoing with Iran. Iran has flatly denied this. There have also been reports that the negotiations are taking place through Pakistan as an intermediary. Even while all of this has been going on, the US has moved a lot of troops into the region. And all indications are that the United States is preparing for a ground invasion. Whether limited or not, the US seems to be preparing for a ground invasion into Iran. It might be focused at particular islands or particular regions, but that is what is being reported in the media. In response, Iran, of course, is warning against it and stating that it will be a bad idea for the United States to invade Iran. So several news stories on this topic. How do we know that the US is preparing? It's mainly been indicated by the movement of thousands of troops into that region on ships and carriers. Moving forward, this particular story is not so important, but I wanted to once again flag for you the name of the current and third Supreme Leader of Iran, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the second Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Right? As you all know, the Islamic Republic of Iran is a republic. That is to say, the head of state of Iran is elected. It is not a hereditary position. So Mojtaba Khamenei has become the supreme leader, not simply because he is the son of the previous supreme. He was separately elected by a body called the Assembly of Experts within the Islamic Republic of Iran. Okay, I hope that is clear. So till date, there have been three. The first one, Ruhollah Khomeini. The second one, Ali Khamenei. And the third one, Mojtaba Khamenei. The current supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei's entire family was killed in the strikes done by Israel and the United States. And it's been reported that he is also severely injured. In fact, he has not been seen in public since his election as the supreme leader. Okay, so I just wanted to flag this once again. Moving forward, just a statement of the Indian Prime Minister calling these challenging times. Of course, the government has been trying to take various actions in order to mitigate some of the damage caused by the war to the economy, to all of us. Particular challenges have been faced, especially with regard to LPG or liquefied petroleum gas. A majority of our LPG passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Even though Iran has said that the strait is open for friendly countries like India, the war in West Asia has certainly created a situation where it has become a problem. It's caused a shock to the entire oil and natural gas market. And particularly, it's been impacted because Israel and the United States attacked energy facilities in Iran. And then in retaliation, Iran attacked energy facilities in all of the neighboring Gulf countries. Okay. One recent important order which was made by the Indian government is basically to incentivize people to shift to PNG or piped natural gas and reduce the consumption of LPG or liquefied petroleum gas. Okay, so you have to know these 3 or 4 natural gas related full forms. You have to know CNG, compressed natural gas, LPG, liquefied petroleum gas, LNG, liquefied natural gas, and finally PNG or piped natural gas. All of these 4 short forms are important and relevant. As you all know, Clat loves to ask abbreviations. They have in recent times asked not only POXO, but also the full form of LGBTQIA. They particularly asked the full form of the A in LGBTQIA. Moving forward, the other front of this war on which there is lesser reporting are the attacks by Israel against the state of Lebanon. As you know, Lebanon is the home to Hezbollah. This is essentially a proxy group of Iran, which has significant military and political influence inside the country of Lebanon. And Lebanon, of course, borders the country of Israel. So even as the war with Iran was ongoing, Israeli forces essentially invaded Lebanon and occupied key positions along the Litani River. And now they are openly stating that they are going to expand the security strip in southern Lebanon. This is nothing but naked imperialism, and it is in line with the stated goal of a greater Israel by capturing surrounding territories of neighboring countries. Okay, so this is something to keep an eye out on. In relation to this, what are the things you have to know? The name of the Litani River is important. Some details of Hezbollah are important. Right? Its status as a proxy group of Iran. And then there is a long history of wars between Israel and Lebanon. So a little bit of history on that is also relevant. Okay, moving forward. So an article about what I was mentioning earlier, the biggest worry in terms of energy security for India is LPG. Okay, because most of our LPG is imported and most of those imports cross through the Strait of Hormuz. That is to say, they come from West Asia through the Strait of Hormuz. So that is why the biggest crisis which India faces in terms of energy security in context of this war relates to liquefied petroleum gas or LPG. So this is a good article. It's in Indian Express on the explained page. And the key figure here, they tell us that for LPG, 54% of India's LPG supply is actually disrupted due to the war in West Asia. Okay, so that is the magnitude of the challenge that we face. There are some actions that are being taken. I mentioned one to you, an order issued by the government, essentially incentivizing people to shift to PNG or piped natural gas. This again is an explained article in the Indian Express, which essentially talks about military strategy and war. Now, the course of this war, it's now been more than 30 days since this war began, right? If it must feel like ages, but the first strike happened on the 28th of February. Okay, so about 30 days have passed, and Iran and its regime have survived longer than many analysts suggest. Right? To be fair, it was hubris on the part of the US and Israeli governments to assume that airstrikes would displace the regime in Iran, right? Even so, the nature of modern day asymmetric warfare has been revealed through the course of this war, right? If you think about it, Israel and the United States have more advanced weaponry. They have advanced air defense systems. But what Iran's strategy in this war has exposed is that they have done their job very strategically. What have they done? They have invested in drone warfare. Not only that, they have prepared well for the likelihood of US and Israeli intervention in Iran, right? So what this article tries to suggest is that Iran's capacity to keep striking Israel and the neighboring Gulf countries with these low-cost drones will far outlast the defensive capabilities which these air defense systems employ, right? So you must have noticed over the course of the war, initially Iranian strikes on Israel and other countries, most of them would not reach their target. That frequency of the target being hit has also increased over time. The cause is that the air defense missile systems are running out. This is something which is very well documented. It's very expensive to produce those air defense missile systems. And due to the onslaught that Iran has kept up with low cost drones, which can be produced much faster as well, the air defense capabilities in Israel and the Gulf countries have taken a severe hit. Okay, so that's what this article tries to lay out by asking the question and then answering it. What Iran's drone blitz means for the future of warfare. Okay, all right. Moving forward, turning now to Nepal. As you know, a new prime minister has been sworn in. His name is Balendra Shah or Balen. He was the former mayor of Kathmandu city. And now, representing the Rashtriya Swatantra Party, he and his party have won a 2/3 majority in the parliament of Nepal. Okay, this happened after the Gen Z revolution of last year, 2025, after which there was an interim government for a while, led by the first female prime minister, Sushila Karki. Now, of course, the interim government is done, elections have taken place. Balendra Shah has become the PM, the youngest prime minister of Nepal. However, even as this was happening, a report was submitted by sort of a high-powered inquiry commission into the actions of the government during the Gen Z protests. Now, that report suggested that the then prime minister and other ministers and officials should face consequences for causing the deaths of thousands of people during the Gen Z protests. So, after the new government was sworn in, the previous prime minister, who had resigned during the Gen Z protests, he was arrested, which is now causing unrest because his supporters are out on the street. So his name is KP Sharma Oli. He has been arrested and an investigation is ongoing into how he dealt with the Gen Z protests and whether he willfully caused the deaths of so many young protesters. Okay, so that is the lowdown on Nepal. We'll see how the situation develops. Most important for you is the background, the Gen Z protest, which PM resigned, KP Sharma Oli, who became the interim PM, first female PM of Nepal, Sushila Karki. Elections were held. Who won? Balendra Shah, leading the Rashtriya Swatantra Party. He has now been sworn in. All right. Moving forward, a sort of small news piece about which we'll read more tomorrow. This is about the target made by or issued by the Home Minister a while back that left-wing extremism would be eradicated from the country by the 31st of March 2026. In the lead up to this date, which is tomorrow, there have been a series of Naxal leaders who have surrendered. So we'll see what happens in the debate today. We'll read about it more in tomorrow's newspaper. But the government seems to be claiming quote unquote victory. It is, of course, somewhat fraught because who are you claiming victory over? Over our own citizens. In any case, what should you know? The left-wing extremism eradication deadline was 31st March 2026, set by the Home Minister. You, of course, have to know the meaning of the word Naxalism and that it originated from a place called Naxalbari in the state of West Bengal. And it, of course, spread all over the neighboring states. Some criticisms which are usually leveled at this sort of militarized policy of eradicating Naxalism is that essentially many of these Naxal movements gained ground in response to encroachment upon the land and livelihoods of tribals in the name of development. So there is that kind of a critique that exists on this topic. In fact, it has come in for severe criticism that the government treats this simply like any act of terror. Okay, so looking out for news items on this tomorrow morning. The deadline, the date is absolutely important. Moving forward, just a quick one, an editorial in the Indian Express today. I just wanted to flag again relating to the G7. Recently, there was the foreign ministers meeting of the G7. The summit will actually take place in the town of Evian. In full, it is Evian-les-Bains. Okay, in France. So who is the chair of the G7 this year? It is France, represented by its president, Emmanuel Macron. And what is the significance of the G7 for India? Is India a member of the G7? Absolutely not. But India is an invited partner country at the G7. So when the G7 meets, the heads of 7 countries meet, then 2 people from the European Union, that is the President of the European Commission and the President of the European Council. This constitutes the permanent set of people in the G7, and every year's host invites certain countries to contribute and participate. So this year, India is 1 out of 4 countries that are invited countries to the G7. Moving forward, once again flagging for you that MC14 or the 14th Ministerial Conference of the World Trade Organization is taking place right now. Where is it taking place? It is taking place in the city of Yaoundé in Cameroon. Forgive me if I have massacred the pronunciation, but I'm saying it in a way that one remembers the spelling. Okay, it's the city of Yaoundé in Cameroon that is the host of the 14th Ministerial Conference of the World Trade Organization. You should absolutely remember the current Director General. It is Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the first African and the first woman to head the World Trade Organization. Okay, I hope that is crystal clear. Where is the WTO headquartered? It is in Geneva, Switzerland. Which agreement established the WTO? It is popularly called the Marrakesh Agreement, which was signed in 1994, and the WTO got created on 1st Jan 1995. So the background details, absolutely important. And on the last day of the conference, we will discuss the actual outcomes. Okay, I hope this is crystal clear. Interestingly, there were widespread protests across the United States on the theme of No Kings. It was called the No Kings protest. What was the objective of this protest? The objective was to protest the authoritarian policies, anti-democratic policies of the US government led by Donald J. Trump. Okay, it was an interesting affair. If you haven't seen things about it, maybe you should go online and Google and check out some of the signs that the people used during the No Kings protest. Okay, but it'll be fun to read. I don't think I can show most of them in this video. It might not be too appropriate, but people came up with a lot of fun slogans and cartoons. Okay, all right. By the way, did the US ever have a king? Yes, of course. Before the USA became its own country, the US used to be a colony of the United Kingdom. In fact, the American Revolution took place to displace the authority of the King of the UK and create a self-government in the American colony. All right. Finally, let's talk about the Artemis mission. Okay, first of all, who is Artemis? Artemis is the Greek goddess of hunting. Okay, she's associated with several other things, but she is the Greek goddess of hunting. And the current US program related to the moon is known as the Artemis program. Okay, so if we just talk about the program names, the USSR's moon missions, the original ones, were in the Luna series, right? They were all named Luna and then a number. Then the US's famous lunar program were the Apollo missions, which ultimately resulted in the landing of the first humans on the moon, right? Now, about 9 or 10 years ago, the US revived its moon mission, put together a new program, decided we will again send humans first in orbit around the moon, then we land humans on the moon, and then we'll build a base on the moon. And all of this is being done under the Artemis 2 mission. And this mission is going to be launched on the 1st of April 2026. No, this is not an April Fool's story. And after a long period, this is going to be a crewed mission. That is to say that NASA will be sending astronauts in a spacecraft to orbit around the moon. Okay, and in the coming years, their plan is to then land humans on the moon again and start building a base. Okay, so I just wanted to flag this for you. We'll know all the details on the 1st of April. So if you're a space enthusiast, do stay tuned for that. So I just put up the sort of schedule. So Artemis 1 was done in 2022, which was simply an uncrewed lunar orbiting, right? That is to say, no humans, simply a spacecraft to orbit the moon. Artemis 2 is happening 1st of April 2026. These are the astronauts, and they are going to crew a lunar spacecraft, which will orbit the moon with. Then later missions, I don't think they'll happen before your Clat, but Artemis 3, 4, and 5 are targeting, landing on the moon and finally moon base construction. Okay, so I wanted to flag all of these for you. As you all know, India's moon missions are called Chandrayaan, right? So our next moon mission is also on the horizon. Let's see what the final date is. We saw a news story a while back that the landing spot or the landing region on the moon had been selected. Okay, all right. So that's all for today. It was lovely to see you all this evening, as it always is. Don't forget to like or subscribe. But most importantly, don't forget to log into the Roznama to practice questions on these topics and on other editorials of the day. It was lovely to see you all. Good evening, good night, and goodbye.